Okay, something is happening and it looks like it's gonna be getting up for YouTube, so we're a roll. Good morning, everybody. We are live. Welcome to California State Parks Week. We are so excited to celebrate this awesome week of events with everybody. We have got a really cool event happening today. But just a little intro about California State Parks Week. It's a celebration of all of our wonderful state parks across California, 280 parks, from the redwoods to the desert to the coast, which is where we are at today. So we're very excited to be able to participate in some awesome events. So wherever you may live or be traveling throughout this week, check out different events happening in your California state parks. There's something for everybody. Today, we are in the San Luis Obispo Coast District. So we are right along the central coast of California in San Luis Obispo County. San Luis Obispo Coast District covers our state parks from Montaña de Oro in the south, all the way up to Hearst San Simeon State Park in the north. And we have an awesome team of folks here ready to provide an awesome event for you. Today's theme for Parks Week is experience your parks in new ways or explore new experiences. And we are happy to share this really cool drone program that we have in the San Luis Obispo Coast District to be able to make parks more accessible for all. So I wanted to start off by showing a video of something that our team created, welcoming you to the San Luis Obispo Coast District. And let me make that happen now. Let's see. Okay. We're gonna do this. Okay, hopefully this will be playing. All right. Well, I understand that there was maybe an audio issue with that video, but we will be sure to drop the link in the chat so that you can all watch that video. It's a really cool way to introduce our state parks in the San Luis Obispo Coast District. If you're just tuning in, welcome everybody. Welcome to California State Parks Week. We have a really cool live stream event happening for you shortly here. I'd like to introduce the staff that we have on board to help make this happen today. So let's start off with our team of drone pilots and spotters. We have got Cesar Villegas and John Sayers here if you want to give a little spiel about what you'll be doing today. There we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hi, my name is Cesar Villegas. I'm one of the 3 pilots in this program. Basically, we are FAA 107 licensed for commercial flights. We do have everything in order. We have our remote ID on our drone. And essentially what happened is our superintendents wrote the operations manual to adhere to all policies, and that's federal policies as well. What we use the drone for is here at where I work at Hearst Castle is we use a drone to assess damage to some of the historic buildings, and to be fixed, we send that up to Sacramento. Other pilots have used it for searching for water leaks around the area. As you know, historic areas, it's not the best built, so it helps us out finding and reducing costs for us. And we've also used 3D map certain areas, state parks, and obviously we're using this also for interpretive videos here for the public. And here's John Sayers.
So good morning, my name is John Sayers. I am an environmental scientist here at California State Parks, San Luis Coast District. I've been here for a little 20 years. With the drone program, as well as all of our projects, we like to have trained biologists on hand to monitor disturbance to wildlife because, if you're focused on one part of the project, you may be seeing the impacts you're having to other resources. We also ask that the public respect, similar to like people kayaking, swimming, just recreating in our wild places. Parks is a balance between protecting wildlife and habitats and recreating, being out there and enjoying the wild areas. So, if wildlife looks like it's getting disturbed, if they're getting annoyed, we like to have people on hand to try to curtail that and monitor that and determine our impact. So today what I'm doing is watching everything that's not happening right immediately next to the drone and watching the wildlife, watching if there are, and trying to mitigate for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cesar and John. We're so excited that you're here today providing this drone flight for us, and both very important jobs here. We'll see your video stream in a second here. I'd also like to introduce Ray Purcell, who is a senior park aide here in Morro Bay State Park, specifically at the Morro Bay Museum of Natural History. Ray, if you want to introduce yourself. And I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Ray. Give me just a sec.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Good morning, Monica, and thank you. And again, welcome to Morro Bay Museum of Natural History. I'm Senior Park Aide Ray Purcell, and I'd like to take you on a brief tour from my vantage. So I'm going to be switching my screen, and you should be able to have a view of Morro Rock, one of the 9 geographically prominent Morros that extend from Morro Bay to San Luis Obispo, west to east. We're walking over to get a view of the mud flat of Morro Bay estuary. And you're going to be seeing in a distance a number of Monterey cypress and eucalyptus trees that are the habitat rookery, a place where birds nest. You may be able to see some heron. You may be able to see some egrets. You may be able to see some cormorant. Let's take a short walk. This is a spectacular recreational site. In the distance, you'll see tidal island of Grassy Island that's covered by our eelgrass, a very valuable habitat for all of the diverse wildlife in the estuary. And beyond that, the sand spit that forms the natural barrier that allows us to be a bay in addition to an estuary. Coming around,
Awesome.
you can look down at some of our shorebirds. You may be able to see great blue heron and egret. Estuaries are essential to the California coast and the health of all of our lives. They're features of the ocean. And to be estuary experts, when you come and visit, you need to know basically two things. We have a beautiful marine layer here today, and you may be able to see the Pacific Ocean. This is where Pacific Ocean meets the watershed that feeds our estuary. And this is a place where salt water, ocean water, and fresh water from Los Osos and Chorro Creeks mingle. So now you're estuary experts.
Awesome. Thank you, Ray. I'm going to go ahead and mute you now. And our drone pilots can go ahead and start flying. We're going to get a bird's eye view of the Morro Bay Estuary. And I'd like to say again, for those of you who are joining us, welcome. We're so happy to have you joining as part of California State Parks Week, this really cool drone flyover experience. I wanted to reiterate that these drones are being operated by licensed drone pilots, and we have spotters there making sure that we are following all wildlife rules and making sure we're not disturbing any wildlife. And if you yourself would like to fly a drone in state parks, we have one designated area within the San Luis Obispo Coast District up in Hearst San Simeon State Park. And at the end of this video, I can show you where that is, but it is near the campground there. It is a designated area where State Parks has approved drone flights. So if you are looking to fly a drone in your state parks, just make sure you know where you're good to fly. And we are seeing an overview of the Morro Bay Museum of Natural History. We've got a gorgeous view. It's a foggy day here in Morro Bay, but just as gorgeous as any other day. And Ray is actually standing out on the back deck of the Morro Bay Museum of Natural History, getting that view that you saw just a few minutes ago, overlooking the estuary. So let's go on a ride over the estuary. So this is the Morro Bay Marina. You might see a trail over on the left side. That's the Morro Bay Marina Peninsula Trail. It's a great path to, it's flat, easy to walk, to check out the salt marsh and see what's going on in the estuary. You might have some really great wildlife spotting, such as harbor seals, sea otters, all kinds of birds who rest in this area. Really awesome views here. We've got Morro Rock, that iconic landmark in the back of the image here. There's great wildlife viewing opportunities at the rock as well for sea otters. Peregrine falcons make their nests on Morro Rock. So if you've never been to Morro Bay, that is definitely a place you would want to check out. And Morro Bay also is adjacent to some marine protected areas. And marine protected areas are places where wildlife can thrive and people can recreate. They have special regulations dependent on the location and the type of MPA, marine protected area, to make it accessible for recreating and places where wildlife can make their homes and thrive. And we have 2 MPAs here in Morro Bay. And if you are tuning in, feel free to drop any comments, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. If you're just tuning in now, welcome to Morro Bay State Park. We are doing a live drone flight over the Morro Bay estuary and parts of Morro Bay State Park. We have our licensed drone pilots here and some spotters making sure that we're not disturbing any wildlife while doing so. And if you are looking to fly drones in your state parks, make sure you know before you go where you are able to fly. Here in the San Luis Obispo Coast District, there's a designated area at Hearst San Simeon State Park. And I can provide information about where that specific spot is. Gorgeous views out here today. And you may have noticed the large sand dune area kind of to the left of where you are seeing Morro Rock now. That is the sand spit, and Ray mentioned that earlier this morning here. And that sand spit divides the Pacific Ocean to the from the estuary here. And we're not flying over the sand spit today because it is a protected area for snowy plovers, the western snowy plover. So that's just one way that we're making sure that we're not disturbing any wildlife while operating these drones. And again, if you're just tuning in, we have our live drone live stream happening now, where we have our team of licensed pilots and spotters making sure that we are following all regulations here. And if you're looking to fly a drone, make sure you know before you go where you're able to do that. There's a designated area in the San Luis Obispo Coast District in Hearst San Simeon State Park where you are able to do so. Thank you to everyone who's joining this morning. And you may see some boats or kayakers on the water here in the Morro Bay Estuary. It's a great place to recreate. We see kayakers, stand-up paddleboarders, boaters, people of all kinds of water recreation backgrounds. It's a lovely place to enjoy your state parks. So it looks like we're heading towards the museum. You probably see in the center near the top of your screen a building there. That is the Morro Bay Museum of Natural History. It's the only natural history museum in the California State Park system. It's a great place to learn about local wildlife, natural history, geology, and it is a part of the California State Park Adventure Pass program. So if you have a fourth grader in your family, you can enter the museum for free. Admission is normally $3. Children under the age of 18 are free. It's a great place to spend your summer if you're looking for some activities to do with your families. And if you are just tuning in today, welcome. Happy Parks Week. We are celebrating the first official day of State Parks Week's events by doing a live drone flyover of the Morro Bay Estuary and Morro Bay State Park. We have our licensed drone pilots and spotters making sure that we are following all regulations here. And if you are looking to fly your drone, make sure you know before you go. In the state parks in the San Luis Obispo Coast District, there is a designated area for drone usage at Hearst San Simeon State Park in a specific area near the San Simeon campground. So make sure you know before you go. And we are coming up on the heron rookery here at Morro Bay State Park. So all those trees you see there with exposed branches, that is a rookery or nesting grounds for lots of local birds. So we have great blue herons, cormorants, and all sorts of other birds that make that specific area their home. There's a cool walkway or a path that goes through the heron rookery if you wanted to check that out and see what kind of birds you might be able to find. And this cove area that you see kind of between the Heron Rookery and the museum, this is called Windy Cove. And it's a area where there's mud flats and tide pools. It's a cool spot to check out and look for critters that live under the mud or in the tide pools, things like crabs or clams under the sand, all sorts of things. And our drone is being flown from the top of White's Point today, which is a awesome lookout point right above the Morro Bay Museum of Natural History. So it looks like we're heading back to that area now. The Morro Bay Museum of Natural History is located right across the street from the Morro Bay State Park campground. So again, another wonderful place to check out if you're camping in the area or here for the day. Check out the museum and some awesome hikes and trails around the area. And we've just dropped in the chat a link to the video that we played earlier today that had some audio issues during the live stream. Apologies for that. If you want to check that out, it's an introduction to the state parks here in the San Luis Obispo Coast District, utilizing some awesome drone footage that we were able to collect. There's also a link to the specific area within our local state parks where you are able to fly a drone, if you'd like to check that out as well. And look at those beautiful views. You may notice that bright blue coloring next to the building there. That is a really beautiful marine mammal mural, one of the highlights outside of the Museum of Natural History. And we are coming right back around to where we took off from this morning. There's our team, awesome folks, operating the drone, spotting the drone, and assisting with support. Go team. Okay, well, that was our drone flyover. We hope you enjoyed that, getting a bird's eye view of the Morro Bay estuary. There's so much to see. Every single day is different at Morro Bay State Park. It's an awesome place for water recreation, for hiking, for all kinds of outdoor activities. And when you are visiting your parks, whether it's Morro Bay State Park or any other park within California, we want to make sure that we are respecting wildlife, so giving them enough space when we are nearby, giving them space and watching them from a distance will help you see the best wildlife activity, the most natural wildlife activity is if they don't even know that you're there. Especially when you're in the water kayaking, you may come across some sea otters or some seals. So keeping a good distance from them while you're in the water will allow them to thrive in their while they're feeding or foraging or resting, and you can get the best, most natural views of them as well. I just wanted to thank again our awesome staff for making this happen. Thank all our viewers for tuning into this live stream today. We'll leave it open for a few more minutes. If you have any comments or questions that you are welcome to drop in the chat. I also will invite Ray or any of the other staff members to add any other fun tidbits of info for you all. So I will mute myself now and feel free to drop questions in the chat or provide any commentary. And it sounds like we might be able to do a little bit more flying. We just had to swap out some batteries to make sure that we can continue to fly. So we will be going back over the estuary in just a moment and checking out a different spot. So stay tuned. Meanwhile, we've got the awesome view from the Museum of Natural History that Ray is showing us here, overlooking Windy Cove. It's a pretty low tide right now, would you say, Ray?
Yeah, we've got a nice low tide. The area below the museum and the rocky promontory make a very nice intertidal habitat. I was paddling there yesterday and we saw anemone, mussels, chitons, all manner of mollusks.
Awesome. This is such an awesome place for wildlife viewing. Wildlife of all sizes and habitats.
There he is. Hold on, you can't see my cat.
Okay. And if you're just tuning in now, thank you for joining us for Parks Week. We are doing a live drone flyover of the Morro Bay Estuary. And if you didn't catch it in the beginning, an estuary is where the freshwater meets the sea. So here in Morro Bay State Park, we have freshwater coming in from Los Osos and Chorro Creeks and flowing into the ocean, where the saltwater and freshwater mix and create a special environment where wildlife can thrive and live off of the brackish water, where brackish water is when it's a mix of salty and fresh. And it looks like we are ready to launch again. So if you're just tuning in again, welcome. We're doing a flyover of the Morro Bay Estuary here in Morro Bay State Park. We have got our licensed drone pilots on our team here who are flying over the estuary. We've got our drone spotters who are making sure that we are not disturbing any wildlife. And if you would like to fly a drone in your local state parks, make sure you know before you go. There's a specific designated area within the San Luis Obispo Coast District where drone users are able to fly. It is up in Hearst San Simeon State Park. And if you check the chat, there is a specific link to where that is. All right, we're going for a ride over the estuary. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. And Ray, if you would like to kind of repeat some of the things that you mentioned this morning, if there's any other folks who are just tuning in now, I'll go ahead and unmute you and feel free to share what you shared this morning.
Thank you, Monica. We have a fantastic view of the Back Bay in Morro Bay. This is a wonderful perspective on our estuary, and you're noticing some salt marsh that's very tidal. We're in a slack tide currently with incoming tide. The tides that come and go twice in a 24-hour period in the estuary do mix that fresh and salty water. For perspective, it's interesting to know that only on our planet, fresh water only represents 2%. So we're mostly defined by being an oceanic planet, and estuaries and bays are extension of that ocean. I'm noticing too, in the upper left-hand side of my screen, that there's a fun attitude display that tells our drone speed and distance from pilot, degrees on the compass rose, and altitude. In the distance, you can see one of our aquacultures on the bay, one of two, where oysters and now little neck clams are being raised for consumption. This is a endeavor that is beneficial for the bay. Amazingly, oysters can filter our bay water about 50 gallons a day. Many of the features that we're flying over now are tidally related as the tide comes in. Some of these features that we're seeing that are very shallow will become covered by water, and it gives a very fresh, indifferent look to our bay and estuaries. We're looking out over the Nine Sisters, the 9 geographic promontories of a long deceased volcanic system. No more eruptions from these features ever again. Much of the green that you see as we fly over the tidal islands and channels is eelgrass, an absolutely essential habitat for invertebrates and birds. Some birds are only able to consume eelgrass as they migrate from the northern latitudes of Canada. Brandt's geese fly south and rest here through the flyway. This is an important migratory resting and feeding spot for many, many birds. For perspective, you can see the marina in the distance, and in the foreground, we're actually flying over the channels of of Choro Creek and the intricate, lacy kind of braid that the channels take. Fresh water swells these creeks and channels during times of storms. These are habitat for earthing and feeding harbor seals, which rest on the muddy shoals to conserve energy, regulate their body temperature, and do essential rest. I encourage anyone to come down and walk the approximately 0.5-mile marina trail that you can see in the midground. This is an ADA accessible trail and is dog friendly for controlled dogs on no more than 6-foot leash. We encourage the use of mutt mitts to keep the bay safe and clean. You may be able to see some of the shorebirds that work their day, gathering their currency and energy from food, small shrimp and other invertebrates in the mud. I particularly love the fat innkeeper worm that lives in our mud flat. It looks like a plump little sausage, squishy. And its superpower is exuding a mucousy net that it filters its food through and then reconsumes the mucus.
Thank you, Ray. For those of you just tuning in, we are live doing a drone flyover in Morro Bay State Park over the Morro Bay Estuary. We have our team here who are licensed drone pilots and spotters, making sure that we are not disturbing any wildlife, that we're following regulation while we're flying these. And if you would like to fly a drone in your state parks, make sure you know before you go where you are able to operate. There's a designated area within the San Luis Obispo Coast District where drone users can fly. It's up in San Simeon State Park near the campground. And if you'd like to specifically find that out, you can check the chat. There is a link directly to that spot there. And thank you so much to our drone pilots for providing that awesome footage. How cool was it to see those meandering creeks and water flow going through the estuary and the salt marsh? Just absolutely beautiful views that we don't usually get to see from that angle. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Happy Parks Week, everybody. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to type them in the chat. We'll be on for a little bit more to answer any questions that you might have. And if you're unaware, California State Parks Week, we're in our 3rd anniversary, and it's a way to celebrate the awesome ways that we can recreate in and experience our state parks throughout California. So no matter where you live, if there's a state park nearby you, chances are we're doing something to celebrate Parks Week. So every day of Parks Week from today, the 12th, all the way to Sunday, the 16th, there are different themes celebrating different parts of our park. So later on this week, we have got events going on all throughout the San Luis Obispo Coast District. Some here in Morro Bay State Park. There's a community paddle happening right here on these waters that you're looking at now later in the week, where you can take your kayak or stand-up paddleboard out on the water and join some state park staff to experience the estuary. We'll also be doing some nature journaling at Montaña de Oro State Park, one of our neighbor parks, as well as a volunteer native garden day where you can help beautify the native garden at Montaña de Oro State Park. We'll also be doing some events up north in Hearst San Simeon State Park. So you can join Hearst Castle for a meditative live stream later on this week as well. We'll be doing some events at San Simeon Cove or William R. Hearst Memorial Beach, where we'll have state park ranger staff, interpretive staff, Hearst Castle staff, as well as other community members joining a community event where you can learn all about the area, what makes Hearst San Simeon State Park and that beach area important to both people and wildlife. So there's all sorts of things happening in your local state parks this week. So I encourage you to check out the different events that are taking place. There's in-person events and virtual, so there's something for everybody, no matter where you live. Today, we did a drone flyover of the Morro Bay Estuary, where we had our licensed pilots and spotters operating the drone at a safe and approved distance from any wildlife habitats. And if you'd like to fly your drone in a state park, just make sure you check out the areas where you are able to. In the San Luis Obispo Coast District, we've got a designated area in Hearst San Simeon State Park near the campground where you can operate your drone, and check the chat for that link. And we were operating today off of White's Point next to the Morro Bay Museum of Natural History. So again, I'd like to mention that's a great spot for anybody, visitors of all ages, to come and check out. $3 admission for adults, and children are free. It's a great place to learn about the natural history of the area, geology, all sorts of wildlife. It's a hands-on interactive exhibit. It's very fun to check out. The only natural history museum in the California State Park system. It's also part of the Adventure Pass program, which is a program through California State Parks where 4th graders and their families can experience their parks for free. So the Morro Bay Museum of Natural History is one of those places where your entrance fee for your whole family, if you're with your 4th grader, they are waived. So definitely check that out if you've got a 4th grader in your family. And even if you don't, definitely come visit the museum either way. And again, I wanted to thank our staff, our pilots, our spotters, our operators, our additional interpretive staff to help make this possible. If anyone wants to add any last commentary here, or if any of the audience members would like to drop any comments or questions in the chat, we'd be happy to address them. But thank you so much for joining today.
Monica, don't forget, come to parks, see what happens. you live here.
Yes, this is where you live. California state parks, 280 state parks, tons of places to enjoy and experience, from the coast where we're at to the desert to the redwoods, all sorts of awesome things that you can experience. As people who live in California, these are your places to enjoy and recreate. And we would be so happy to to welcome you into your parks. And you are free to enjoy them in whatever ways you find most enjoyable, whether you're a water recreator or a hiker or a bird watcher, or maybe you like to nature journal in parks. These parks are for you, and they're ways for you to live your best life. Okay. Well, I don't see any comments
Thanks,
or
everyone.
questions. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate everyone joining and tuning in to this awesome program. And check out some other events going on this week. You can find more info online on the California State Parks Week webpage or on any social media platform if you follow California State Parks or us here at Morro Bay State Park or Hearst San Simeon State Park. All right, everybody, enjoy your day. Happy Parks Week. Get out and enjoy your parks because this is where you live. Have a great day, everyone.